Hidden potential. The quantum research facility buried beneath the Rocky Mountains didn't appear on any public maps. Its existence was known only to a select group of scientists, military personnel, and government officials. Deep within its reinforced walls, Dr. Maya Wilson stood before a holographic simulation that pulsed with impossible geometries. Her eyes reflected patterns of energy that defied conventional understanding of physics. Quantum resonance stabilizing at 98.6%, reported Dr. Kai Chen, his fingers dancing across an array of sensors. The particle behavior is consistent with our theoretical models. Maya nodded, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. This isn't just another breakthrough, Kai. If these readings are accurate, we've just redefined our understanding of matter manipulation at the quantum level. For 3 years, Project Helios had operated in absolute secrecy. While the world's attention focused on conventional space exploration and colonization efforts, Maya and her team had been pursuing a different path, one that explored the fundamental nature of reality itself. The laboratory hummed with energy as cooling systems worked overtime to maintain the delicate quantum state they had created. What appeared on their monitors wasn't just data. It was a window into the universe's most fundamental building blocks. "Should we inform the director?" asked Elena Santos, the team's quantum engineer. Her expression betrayed a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Maya considered the question carefully. "Not yet. Let's run another series of validation tests. I want absolute certainty before we make any claims." None of them could have predicted how quickly their timeline would accelerate. 3 days later, humanity experienced its first major extraterrestrial contact. The Valari Confederation's diplomatic vessel appeared in Earth orbit without warning. Their technology had rendered them invisible to Earth's most advanced detection systems until they chose to be seen, a deliberate display of technological superiority. Ambassador Thornzoll stood before the United Nations General Assembly, his tall, slender frame draped in iridescent materials that seemed to shift with his movements. His skin had a metallic quality that caught the light, and his 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern, surveyed the gathered humans with barely concealed disdain. "The Valari Confederation extends greetings to Earth," he announced, his words translated through an advanced device at his throat. "We have observed your civilization for some time and have determined that you have reached a sufficient level of development to be acknowledged." The diplomatic language couldn't disguise the condescension. The Valari weren't offering partnership. They were granting humanity recognition like one might acknowledge a clever pet. "We have cataloged your species as Category 3, technologically developing but pre-cosmic," Thornzoll continued. "The Confederation will permit limited access to approved star systems within a 20 light-year radius of your solar system. Further expansion will require review and authorization." The room erupted into a mixture of outrage and excitement. Humanity had dreamed of contact with alien intelligence for centuries, but no one had imagined it would come with restrictions and classifications. Maya watched the broadcast from the facility's secure communications room, her eyes narrowed. "They're treating us like children," she muttered. Director Harrington, a former military general with a pragmatic approach to both politics and science, stood beside her. "What they don't know can work to our advantage," he replied. "How soon can your team demonstrate a practical application of your quantum research?" Maya's mind raced through calculations and possibilities. With proper funding and priority access to computing resources, 6 months, maybe less. Harrington nodded. "You have 3. The Valari established an embassy in Geneva and began the process of integrating Earth into the galactic community. This integration came with strict limitations. Humans could observe but not participate in Confederation governance, could trade only in approved commodities, and were restricted from accessing most advanced technologies. Ambassador Thornzoll made frequent appearances on global news networks, always emphasizing the Valari's benevolence in guiding such a young species. "It is our responsibility," he would say, "to ensure developing civilizations evolve along appropriate paths." Meanwhile, Project Helios operated around the clock. Maya's team expanded from 12 researchers to 50, drawing the brightest minds from around the world. Their work progressed at a pace that would have seemed impossible before first contact. The Valari technology we've been able to analyze confirms our approach, Maya explained during a briefing with global security officials. They're using conventional physics. Advanced, yes, but fundamentally limited by traditional understandings of spatial manipulation. She activated a holographic display showing complex quantum structures. What we're developing isn't just a different technology. It's a different paradigm entirely. We're not moving through space. We're communicating with it. General Rivera, representing the United Space Defense Coalition, leaned forward. In practical terms, Dr. Wilson, what does that mean? Maya allowed herself a small smile. It means we can potentially accomplish things the Valari consider impossible. 6 months after first contact, the Valari Confederation faced its first major crisis in centuries. A cluster of stars in the Orion Arm began exhibiting signs of instability. Not a natural phenomenon, but the result of an ancient technology left behind by a long-extinct civilization. The destabilization threatened dozens of inhabited worlds, including several Valari colonies. The Confederation's leading scientists gathered at their central hub world to address the crisis. Their proposed solutions all followed the same principles: massive energy shields, planetary evacuation protocols, attempts to counter the destabilization with conventional physics. None were working. News of the crisis reached Earth through official channels. The Valari downplayed the severity, describing it as a minor stellar anomaly being addressed by Confederation experts. But Maya's team, now monitoring Valari communications, understood the truth. They're failing. She informed Director Harrington during an emergency meeting. Their approaches can't counteract the quantum cascade effect. Harrington studied the data before him. And ours can. Maya took a deep breath. Project Helios was never just about theoretical research. The quantum manipulation framework we've developed, it's designed specifically for this kind of intervention. We can stabilize those stars. The director's expression remained carefully neutral. You're suggesting we offer help to a civilization that considers us barely more advanced than primates. I'm suggesting we demonstrate that humanity has more to offer than the Valari have assumed. After 24 hours of intense debate among Earth's Leadership Council, the decision was made. Humanity would offer assistance. Ambassador Thornzall received the human delegation with obvious impatience. While we appreciate Earth's concern, he said without bothering to stand from behind his ornate desk, the Confederation has managed cosmic-level threats for millennia before your species discovered electricity. Dr. Maya Wilson stood her ground. With respect, Ambassador, our analysis indicates that conventional approaches will fail to address the quantum cascade effect, destabilizing the Orion cluster. One of Thornzall's 4 eyes twitched, the first sign of emotion they had witnessed from the ambassador. You have access to restricted information, he stated. We have our own observational capabilities, Maya replied smoothly. And we have a solution your scientists haven't considered. She activated a small projector, displaying a complex matrix of quantum equations and simulations. We call it quantum resonance stabilization. Rather than fighting against the destabilization, we can establish a harmonic relationship with the affected stellar bodies. The ambassador studied the projection, his expression unreadable. Theoretically intriguing, he finally said, his tone dismissive. But stellar engineering requires more than interesting mathematics. It requires centuries of practical experience that your species simply doesn't possess. Maya deactivated the projector. We're not asking for permission, Ambassador. We're offering assistance. The human vessel Prometheus will depart for the Orion cluster in 48 hours. Whether the Confederation chooses to cooperate is entirely up to you. As she turned to leave, Thornzall spoke again, his voice carrying an edge she hadn't heard before. You understand that unauthorized intervention in Confederation space carries severe penalties. Maya paused at the door. What we understand, Ambassador, is that millions of lives are at risk while your scientists cling to approaches that cannot succeed. Sometimes, the most valuable perspective comes from those you've underestimated. The ambassador's silence was the only response she needed. Cosmic Revolution. The Prometheus was humanity's first quantum-enabled vessel. From the outside, it appeared unremarkable. A sleek, obsidian craft barely 300 meters in length. Its true nature remained invisible to conventional sensors, including those of the Valari observation ships that tracked its departure from Earth orbit. Captain Elijah Okonkwo stood on the bridge, watching as his crew prepared for their first major quantum translation. A veteran of Earth's space program, he had been selected as much for his diplomatic skills as for his technical expertise. QRS systems at full capacity, reported Commander Sarah Lynn, the ship's quantum navigation officer. Coordinates for the Orion cluster locked in. Maya Wilson, who had insisted on joining the mission despite the risks, monitored the quantum resonance chamber that occupied the ship's core. Quantum field stability at 99.4%. We're ready, Captain. Okonkwo nodded. Begin quantum translation. What happened next defied conventional understanding of space travel. The Prometheus didn't accelerate to faster-than-light speeds in the traditional sense. Instead, it established a quantum resonance with its destination, a harmonization at the most fundamental level of reality. The stars on the view screen seemed to shift, colors blending and flowing as space itself appeared to fold around the vessel. There was no sensation of movement, only a momentary suspension as the quantum state of the ship aligned with a point thousands of light-years distant. And then they were there. The Orion cluster spread before them, a spectacular array of stars that should have been beautiful, but instead pulsed with unnatural energies. At the center, several stars glowed with an ominous red intensity, their coronas flaring with unpredictable bursts. Quantum destabilization more advanced than our projections, Maya noted, studying the sensor readings. We need to establish the resonance field immediately. The Valari Defense Fleet detected their arrival almost instantly. A series of increasingly urgent communications flooded their systems. Unknown vessel, you have entered a restricted emergency zone. Withdraw immediately or face defensive action. Captain Okonkwo opened a channel. This is Captain Elijah Okonkwo of the Earth vessel Prometheus. We are here to assist with the stellar stabilization crisis. A brief silence. Then, human vessel, your presence is neither requested nor authorized. The Confederation has the situation under control. The view screen activated to show a Valari commander, his 4 eyes blinking in what they had come to recognize as agitation. Behind him, Maya could see frantic activity as Valari officers monitored deteriorating conditions. Commander, she said, stepping into view, I'm Dr. Maya Wilson. The quantum cascade has accelerated beyond your projections, hasn't it? Your conventional containment fields are failing. The commander's expression confirmed her assessment. This area is dangerous even for advanced vessels. Your primitive ship cannot withstand these conditions. As if to emphasize his point, a nearby star flared violently, sending a shockwave of quantum disruption across the region. The Valari ship's shields flickered visibly. The Prometheus, however, remained stable. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Our primitive ship is specifically designed for quantum interaction, Commander. Now, we can continue this debate while the situation deteriorates, or you can allow us to implement our solution. After a tense consultation with his superiors, the commander reluctantly agreed to let the humans proceed, under strict observation. The quantum resonance stabilization process began with the deployment of small drone-like devices from the Prometheus. Unlike conventional technology, these quantum resonators didn't fight against the stellar instability, but instead established communication with it at the quantum level. This isn't a brute force approach, Maya explained to the Valari scientists who had been permitted to observe their work. We're not trying to contain the energy. We're redistributing it through quantum harmonization. The Valari observers watched with skeptical detachment as the resonators positioned themselves around the most critically unstable star. From the Prometheus, Maya's team initiated the quantum field generation. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the violent flares from the star began to change pattern. Instead of chaotic eruptions, they started flowing in more rhythmic, controlled pulses. The resonance is establishing, Maya noted, her voice calm despite the tension visible in her posture. Primary harmonic sequence engaging. On the main view screen, the star's angry red glow began shifting toward a more stable orange. Quantum readings showed decreasing levels of instability as the resonance field expanded. One of the Valari scientists moved closer to Maya's console. "This methodology," he said quietly, "it contradicts our understanding of stellar physics." Maya didn't look up from her work. "That's because you're approaching it as a problem of conventional physics. We're treating it as a conversation. A conversation with a star. With the quantum fabric that comprises it," she corrected. "Every system in the universe seeks harmony. We're just providing the means for that harmony to re-establish itself." Over the next 17 hours, the process continued. One by one, the unstable stars in the cluster began to respond to the quantum resonance field. Their erratic behaviors smoothed, their dangerous flares diminished, and their cores started to return to stable fusion patterns. News of the human intervention spread quickly through Confederation channels. Ships from other species began arriving, not to assist, but to witness. Many had never questioned Valari technological supremacy. The sight of a supposedly primitive human vessel succeeding where the Confederation had failed challenged centuries of established hierarchy. Ambassador Thornzal arrived 3 days later aboard the Confederation's flagship. His request to board the Prometheus was granted immediately. "Your intervention has proven effective," he acknowledged as he was escorted to the ship's conference room. The admission clearly cost him considerable effort. Captain Okonkwo nodded. "We're pleased we could help. What I don't understand," Thornzal continued, "is how your species developed this technology without our detection. Our assessment of Earth's capabilities was thorough." Maya smiled. "You were looking for the wrong things, Ambassador. You categorized civilizations based on metrics that made sense to you: energy utilization, space travel capability, weapons development. You never considered that advancement might follow a different path." "And what path is that, Dr. Wilson?" "Understanding rather than domination. Harmony rather than control." She activated a display showing the now stabilized star cluster. "Your civilization approached this crisis with impressive technology designed to force the stars back into compliance. We approached it by learning to speak the language of quantum reality." The ambassador was silent for a long moment. "The Confederation Council has requested a formal reassessment of humanity's classification," he finally said. Maya exchanged glances with Captain Okonkwo. "We're not particularly interested in your classification system, Ambassador. Nevertheless, protocols must be followed. Your species will be reclassified as Category 1 with immediate effect." "And what does that mean?" Captain Okonkwo asked. "It means," Thornzal replied with visible difficulty, "that humanity is recognized as a full participating member of the galactic community, with all associated rights and responsibilities." Maya leaned forward, "Including unrestricted research and exploration rights." The ambassador's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. A gesture they had learned indicated reluctant agreement. "The Confederation acknowledges that different evolutionary paths may produce unexpected forms of advancement. Your approach to quantum manipulation represents one such path." "It represents humanity's path," Maya corrected. "We never sought to impress you, Ambassador. We simply aim to solve problems in our own way." The Prometheus returned to Earth orbit as a symbol of humanity's new status in the galaxy. Representatives from dozens of non-Valari civilizations had already dispatched envoys, eager to establish direct relations with the species that had challenged Confederation supremacy through innovation rather than conflict. In her laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, Maya reviewed the data gathered during their mission. The quantum manipulation techniques had performed beyond even her optimistic projections, opening new possibilities for cosmic-scale applications. The Xanthe ambassador is requesting a meeting, Director Harrington informed her. Apparently, they have several unstable binary systems near their homeworld. Maya nodded absently, her attention on a new simulation taking shape before her. Schedule it for next week. I think we found a way to not just stabilize stellar bodies, but to actually optimize their energy output.